Hello, and thank you for joining me again on Run Level 0. On November 24th, 2013, Manjaro Linux released a new snapshot, version 0.8.8. I wanted to bring you up to speed on some of the changes that were incorporated with this. Now, because it's a rolling release cycle, if you already have Manjaro installed, there's no need to reinstall the system, because it will automatically update and incorporate these changes on its own. But there were several significant changes, so I wanted to bring you up to speed as to what those are. Now, there are several different versions of Manjaro, the primary difference between them all being the desktop environment. So you'll be able to fit something that fits your needs more comfortably. But all those desktop environments, underneath them, they still have the same core of Manjaro that it's running. So they're all going to receive several core features, several core updates. And I wanted to cover those first. There are several kernels installed, and if you go to manjaro.org/blog, you can find a list of all these changes. But there are 5 kernels that are available here: 3.4, 3.8, 3.10, 3.11, and 3.12. Why would you want to change those kernels? Well, you'll be able to find a kernel that best suits your hardware, that best suits the applications that you're trying to run. Manjaro makes it very easy to update your kernel, to make those changes, and we're going to go through that a little later on. But it's important to know what is available. Manjaro's also done a lot of work on their graphical package managers. PAMAC and Octopi have both received several important updates. Thus, the graphical installer. When I was reviewing the last version, 0.8.7, I had some serious issues with the graphical installer. The installer seemed to have problems running the grub install. And that has been fixed in this version, and I have verified that. I've installed several versions of the new Manjaro snapshot, and the graphical installer works like a charm. The Manjaro ISO has been updated. Let's see. And there have been several package changes. So that's what you're going to get overall as far as core Manjaro updates. If you're new, if you haven't watched my other reviews on Manjaro, just a little bit of background about who they are. Manjaro is a Linux distribution that's based on the Arch operating system. Now, because they are based on Arch, they get the benefits of the speed and reliability that Arch is known for. It's highly customizable, just like its parent, but they have forked away. They maintain their own repository, so while being based on Arch, Manjaro is its own entity. But they have maintained close ties to their parent. Some of the features that you'll inherit are the speed, power, and efficiency, access to the very latest cutting and bleeding edge software. You maintain the rolling release development model. What that means, if you're not familiar, when you install a rolling release system, there's really never a need to reinstall when a new version of the system comes out. Just by virtue of keeping your system up to date, gradually your operating system will evolve and will always be at the latest version. And you're also going to maintain access to the Arch user repository, and this is one of the greatest draws, in my opinion, to Arch, is the amount of software that you can install on the system. And we're going to take a look at how you use the AUR here in just a little bit. I've been really excited to follow Manjaro as a whole. They've been gaining popularity over the last couple of years, but especially recently. You can see they've been climbing the ladder on DistroWatch. Here a couple months ago they were at number 2. They've been going up and down, and that's to be expected, but they've been hovering near the top. And here they've actually surpassed their parent, Arch. Manjaro's sitting at number 8 and Arch at number 9. They've done a lot of hard work on Manjaro, and I've been very happy to follow this distribution. We're about to take a look at Manjaro. Our review today is going to focus on the Openbox edition because of the desktop environments that are available for Manjaro. The Openbox version has gone through the most dramatic change. Manjaro Openbox is now being called ManjaroBox, and they've completely changed their flavor. They've taken on, whereas the previous version was a complete out-of-the-box experience, ManjaroBox has become a minimalist install. You're going to get a fully functional desktop environment, but it's going to only have the minimal applications installed to get you up and running. ManjaroBox is designed for an intermediate or advanced user to really configure the way they want it. And just a word of caution here, Manjaro probably is not going to be appropriate for a novice computer user. If you are a seasoned computer user, you're coming over to Linux. In other words, if you've had experience in Windows or Mac and you're comfortable administering those systems, not just using them, but administering them, then one of the Manjaro flavors may be appropriate for you to get introduced into Linux. But I would still stick with a Debian or Ubuntu based if you're brand new into Linux. If you've had some experience in Linux, I would encourage you to step into Manjaro. It is a good way to be introduced into Arch, into a more configurable system. And I think it can make a great intermediate distro for your transition from those beginner distros into the more advanced distros like a pure Arch system. So let's take a look and see what you get with ManjaroBox. If you're familiar with Manjaro Openbox, the previous version, you'll see that quite a bit has changed here on the desktop as far as the layout goes. Their Conky has received a facelift, and their Tint 2 panel, instead of being across the top, is now on the left-hand side by default. As with any Openbox distro, by right-clicking the desktop, you're going to bring up your Applications menu. And we're going to take a look. One of the first things, if you're familiar with Linux, one of the first things you're going to notice right off the bat is this is truly a minimal install. You don't even have a web browser installed. They expect you to do that on your own. And I really like this approach because one of my peeves when I download a distro, I usually wind up spending the first couple of hours customizing the desktop to the way I want it to be, installing applications I want, uninstalling ones I don't want. So I really appreciate this minimalist approach. But it's the great thing about the Manjaro core is that it's already configured. You already have the applications here that are needed for you to administer your system. So let's take a look at what you do get. Again, you get the beautiful desktop. Thunar is the file manager, and if we open it up, it is beautifully themed, as just in keeping with all of the other Manjaro distributions or Manjaro flavors. You have the black, gray, and green theming pattern here. You have access to your terminal, again beautifully themed. Screenshot utility, nitrogen, which is for managing your wallpapers, and there are several wallpapers that come pre-installed, and if you want to get kind of retro looking, you can go back to the old wallpaper. I don't know, I kind of like the new ones. I like the darker look, easier on the eyes. Alright, under accessories, you get the 7-zip and archive manager, a rename utility, Catfish File Search, Compton, LeafPad, LX Terminal, again a screenshot utility, Synapse. If you're not familiar with Synapse, this is for searching and launching files and applications. So it's an alternative way to, you just open it up, start to type, and it'll offer suggestions for your terminal or for whatever application you're typing for. So it is a handy utility, and if you look at the Conky, you'll see that you have several shortcuts. And Super S, if you're not familiar with what the Super key is, that's your Windows key. So Super plus S is a key combination to launch Synapse. If you're going to be using an Openbox based distro, it would be helpful if you get to know those shortcuts and configure your own custom shortcuts. But I really like that they included this over here. It's just going to make life so much easier. Alright, for development we have Genie. One of the most important menus, and I'm really glad they installed this on here, it makes the system so much easier to use, is you have a drivers and support menu. You have an option to detect and install your graphics drivers. So this is going to install the drivers for your graphics card. And when you run it, you'll be given the option of choosing the free or non-free drivers. Depending on what you want to use your system for, if you're going to be doing a lot of graphics processing, if you're going to be using it for gaming, I would suggest you use the non-free drivers. You have an option to install full multimedia support. This is going to install all of your codecs for playing movies, ripping DVDs, and that sort of thing. You have the option to install full Arch user repository support. And when you install this, this is the first thing, in my opinion, that you should do, is install this Arch user repository support. This is going to install Yowert and give you access to the AUR. We're going to look at that in just a minute. You also can install printing support, and then you have the option to install a graphical software manager if you want to use a GUI front end for your software management that will install Octopi for you. And you can install the Manjaro Settings Manager. For graphics, very slim. You get a basic document viewer and View Noir. Multimedia, the GNOME ALSA mixer for your volume control. Not really too much there for network. Under Office, you have a document viewer, but they did include a shortcut to install LibreOffice if you choose. Under Settings, you have the usual configuration utilities. One of the ones I wanted to show you, or two of them actually, starting with the Openbox Configuration Manager. You're going to need to get used to using this. It's going to help you configure the layout of your desktop the way that you like. You can choose your theme, your appearance, window actions. Want to come down here to the desktops. This is where you're going to set your number of virtual desktops. And right now it's set at 4. Just with a simple click, you can change that to 2 virtual desktops if you would like. But you can control your Openbox environment from here. The other settings I wanted to show you was the Panel Tint 2. This is going to allow you to configure and theme your Tint 2 panel. You'll see there's one, this is your theme that they have by default. If you click Properties, you'll be able to change the layout and behavior of your theme. So you can go through and play around with this a little bit. What I really wanted to show you is if you come over to Panel, you have the option of changing the panel location. So if you wanted to move it to the bottom, say, you can change it from a horizontal, or rather from a vertical to a horizontal layout, and change the location to the bottom. Click Apply, and now you've moved your panel. You can do these configurations by manually updating and changing the configuration file, but this GUI makes it so much easier. You can also set the panel to auto hide if you would like. On Taskbar Settings, one of the things I find very useful for taskbar mode, you can change it from single desktop, where all of your open windows are going to be shown on the panel, to multi-desktop. When you do that and click Apply, you'll see my panel just split. And remember, we changed my virtual desktops from 4 to 2. So this changes the Tint 2 panel into a pager as well, where I can switch my desktops just by clicking on the panel. So that's just a couple of things that I find useful. Alright, back to it. There is an advanced settings menu where you can really dig deeper and update configuration files manually, where we spoke earlier about updating the Tint 2 panel. You can do that through the text editor right here. So if you are the type that you like to dig deeper and get your hands dirty in the system a little bit, those utilities and configuration files are right at your fingertip. Under System, you have the typical system administration utilities. You have firewall configuration, gparted for your partitions, a bulk rename utility, dconf editor. So yeah, you can really manage your system and get your hands into it as deep as you like with this ManjaroBox. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about this system. So let's take a look at that Arch user repository. We're going to launch a terminal, and as I stated earlier, this is one of the best features of Arch-based distributions is the AUR. The AUR, using Yowert, you're going to be able to search a much broader range of available packages to install on your system. So if you're looking to install something that's maybe not in the Manjaro repositories, you have a whole another world of packages available to search and install. And using Yowert, it helps if I spell it right, Yowert is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best and most user-friendly command line package management systems available. So let's find a web browser for us to use on our system. I'm just going to type Yowert, and let's install my favorite. It does include most packages. So if you're going to do Yowert Chromium, it's going to search the repositories. Here we go. And it's going to return to you a list of all the search matches available in all of your repositories. You can see the first bit here where it says extra, that's the repository that it's available in. Community repositories, and then the packages that are available in the AUR. So you can actually drill down and find the one that you really want to install. I'm going to install Chromium. That's number 1. So we're going to go back down and install number 1. If you wanted to install more than one of these packages, you would simply put a space in between and then type in 2 and 3 and so forth. But we're just going to do number 1. So we click enter. It's going to ask us for our password. And it's going to tell you what it's going to do. It resolves the dependencies for you, looks for conflicts. It wants to install these packages. Do you want to continue? We're going to tell it yes. And it's going to retrieve and configure and install the packages for you. So you really can't get much easier than that. Just Yowert and the package name. It'll perform the search, and you can go on from there. And one of the great things is you have the latest and most up-to-date bleeding edge software right at your fingertips. There we go. Chromium is installed. For example, if we look at Yowert again, Cinnamon was just released. If we search for Cinnamon 2.0, look at this. Oops, went too far up. Here we go. Cinnamon 2.0.12.1. Can't get much more up to date than that. So if you wanted to install the latest Cinnamon desktop and play around with it, you can do it right from here. So this also makes a good base system to configure and build upon your own custom distro. So now we go to network, and you can see Chromium has already been added to the menu for us. So, as always, I love Manjaro, specifically the Openbox edition. I've never hidden that fact, and I think that they continue to make wise decisions, that they really listen to their users and base their decisions upon what their users need and what they're looking for, what they want. So I'm really excited to see this project grow and how it continues to develop and evolve over time. Please give it a try. This is still an excellent distribution. I'm really pleased with what they've done. Look at this, 212 megabytes of RAM. Now that did creep on us a little bit. It started out about 150, but as with every system, as you use it a little bit and stuff starts running in the background, like you can see we have Synapse now running in the background. We can close that out and that will drop back down again. So still at 200 meg, a very slim system, very much appropriate for older hardware if you're trying to breathe life into an older system. Give this a try. If you're looking to get your feet wet, if you've been using Linux for a little while and you really want to learn how the system operates under the hood, how you can really configure your own system and make the system yours, Manjaro makes an excellent choice for that. Specifically, go with ManjaroBox. I really like this. Please install it, give it a try, let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me. I hope to be with you soon for another video.